Welcome to the Freaky Film Club. I am your host, Jeremy Jordan, and today we are taking a look at a film from 1985, Silver Bullet. And I am joined by my friends from the other film club. We've
The
got
OG.
we've got Damon, Derek, and Mike. Hi
How's it going?
guys.
I,
Good to be back.
So for this episode, I am going to be handing the reins over to Mike as you took the detailed notes this time and you're going to lead us.
Nice.
Yeah, and feel free to chip in and to add other things if I missed it. Anybody?
just before we start, too, I want to point out our last recording, Texas Chainsaw. I got some good comments, so if you see this, feel free to leave a comment and be sure to subscribe to the channel for sure and hit the like button.
Absolutely. So
All
do
right,
we want
let's
to talk
d-
about first where we first saw this, first viewing moments?
Sure. I mean, actually, this was the first time me watching this film, so
Okay.
I didn't know what. I was never really into werewolf type of films that much going into this. I saw Teen Wolf actually for the first time not that long ago with Michael J. Fox, and I was not really a fan of it. It was a fun watch, but going into this one, I didn't know what to expect. But yeah,
I saw this on a Sunday afternoon some point when I was a kid. It did actually get a theatrical release, but I saw it, like I said, it was, during the school year where I had to get up the next day. And so, like, I remember thinking, oh, this is a really cool movie, but I can't enjoy it to its fullest because I've got the Sunday blues at the time.
Hmm.
hmm
I think I probably caught it during a Fear Fest, but it would have probably been like background noise or like bits and pieces of it at the time. So never really watched it like all the way full with my full attention until this past couple days ago for the
hmm
film club.
I actually watched it just today for the first time. Didn't know much about it. I knew it was a Stephen King adaptation.
hmm
For some reason, I thought it was a TV movie, but I saw that it did have a theatrical release as well.
Yeah.
So just saw
Yeah.
it
I
today.
mean, on a side note, I mean, I saw Gary Bussey. How do you say his last name?
Do you see?
Busey? Busey? Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. Anything with him is, I mean, Lethal Weapon, man, that was
Oh yeah. He always adds some nice flair to things.
he really does, yeah.
Apparently, too, when they were shooting this, he was ad-libbing a lot of his lines, and the director and Stephen King, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
Stephen King. They liked his ad libs, and so a lot of his ad libs stayed in the film.
Neat.
That was great casting. I mean, he is the perfect drunk uncle. Like I
I mean,
can't
that's the
picture-
type of uncle you want. I mean, especially that what he built for his nephew there, which we'll
Mhm.
discuss pretty soon here. So,
So, Mike,
Sure. So, do you want me to go over the cast?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
We can do that.
So, I mean, the film kind of opens up with just the main credits, the primary characters. Gary Busey, like we said, he plays Uncle Red. Um, Corey Haim plays Marty. Um, Terry O'Quinn is in there. He plays the sheriff of the town. Um, I didn't catch the name of the sister, the actress who plays the sister.
Megan
Um,
follows.
Okay, Jane is the sister of Marty, and then there were some other. Was it Everett McGill? Was that his
Mhm.
name? plays the Reverend in the town. And then another person that I knew was the Tova Feldsha character who played Marty and Jane's mom.
I have Tova as the adult Jane. So the mom was playing the voiceover of the adult Jane as well.
Yeah, I thought I saw that she was the mom and the voice of Jane.
The narrator, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the only other character that really stood out to me was Terry O'Quinn from Lost. Like, oh yeah, that's the guy from Lost. So.
You know what? Maybe that wasn't the mom. I don't think that was. Yeah, I'm wrong. That wasn't. She just did the narration. Anyway, so yeah, the film opens up with a shot of the full moon, and they're introducing the main credits. Then it starts with the narration, the voiceover, who we don't know who that is yet. They say it's spring 1976 in this town. I don't recall them ever saying what state this is in. Did
It's
anybody?
in Maine. Big shocker.
Is it Maine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Stephen King, he sets all of his stories in like the small town New England, and so this is sort of that setting.
Okay.
Okay. And the town's called what? Tarker's Mill? Something like that.
Sounds about right to me.
All right. And then just the narration just gets into, this is when the nightmare began.
Yeah.
Spring of 1976, a little bit before school got out for the town.
Which is
Then
where
we see-
we're at in real life. We're a few weeks before school gets out.
Then we see this railroad worker, kind of the requisite drunk character,
Yeah.
reciting I think he was saying Rheingold. I've never heard of that. A beer commercial, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Is that an actual brand? I don't know. I don't drink.
I'm not sure. I've never heard of that either.
I haven't either.
So yeah, he was clearing off the railroad track. There was some dirt on one of the tracks there, and he kind of hears some noises coming from somewhere in the background. Then he sees a footprint.
Yeah.
And to me, it looked like, my interpretation at least, was that he knew what that was, or he knew it was something that was going to kill him. Is that how you guys took it?
I didn't take it honestly. I thought he was like, oh, some kids or somebody is running through here, like high schoolers, or is trying to, I don't know, or playing around the area. I actually didn't think that at first.
Okay.
I had the idea that maybe he suspected.
Yeah.
It seemed like he
something-
knew
Yeah.
that he was going to die. I mean,
Maybe
didn't
that's why he
say-
got hacked so quick.
right.
Oh shit.
So he was abruptly decapitated,
Yeah.
and his head went flying. And
Slow
then that-
motion.
Yeah.
and
It was awesome.
we see some of the other townspeople. They start to hear some howling in the background, and then a kind of an oddly grouped together shots of showing ants crawling on the guy's head. And then the narrator talked again about how it was kind of just chalked up to, he was drunk and it was an accident, and nobody was really surprised. So nobody really was suspecting anything yet at this point.
There was a part in that scene that I actually really liked. That was like a good transition into so you saw the train coming, and then you saw that beetle. I think it was like a beetle or some type of bug, and then that thing got squashed, and that was pretty much an indication that train, I think, was going to squash that guy's head. When that happened, it was like
the beetle was after that.
Yeah, I kept thinking it was like, okay, that's pretty much what just happened to that guy's head. The beetle was representing what just happened. But they didn't. So instead of the guy's actually head getting smushed, they just showed the beetle getting run over instead. That's kind of what was thinking was they were going for.
That's interesting because I was actually going to say I didn't get the point of that. Why did they have
Okay.
to show a bug getting run over by the
Yeah.
kid on the bike?
Yeah, that was my interpretation of just like, oh, that guy's head just got run over by the train, and they
Yeah.
just represented it with the bug instead.
So that was the opening scene pretty much, and then we start to see the town a little bit. They have a town fair going on, and that's when the narrator introduces herself. We realize that she is a main character, or she's going to be a main character in this story.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this was spring 1976. I'm assuming the narration is taking place in present day, so this is like 9 years after these events.
Mhm.
So then we see the family. We meet the family at the fair. Like I said, Marty, played by Corey Haim, and his parents, and then Jane, the narrator. We also meet Brady, who is Marty's best friend.
Yeah.
They are kind of looking to play a prank on Jane. They find a snake in the grass and they pick it up, and Brady goes up into a tree and they lure Jane over and they scare her with it, and she ends up
just before that, Jane was by some high school boys trying to sort of impress them. So I think that's again one of the reasons why she gets so upset.
And then she gets scared by the snake and she falls down into a bunch of mud and then later into a puddle. So her clothes are completely wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Brady could have done a better job at hiding himself in that tree. Like,
It was pretty clear, yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure how she got fooled there.
Yeah.
Marty made it clear that he didn't agree with taking it that far.
Mhm.
It was Brady that was more taking over. Then there was kind of an unusual scene, I thought, where Jane goes under a tree to kind of collect herself, dry her clothes off a little bit, and she overhears an argument between I wouldn't really call them a couple anymore, but a man and a woman. The man is denying paternity, and
What is that?
That does like the gesture thing. I think I have that enabled. Sorry.
Oh, I was yeah.
I made
sorry.
like the shape of a thumbs up, and it made the thumbs up emoji.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry.
And-
okay.
and then he says it's not my baby. You're taking care of it yourself, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then he leaves her, and the woman is crying, and Jane witnesses this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about that. Then they had a discussion. Jane's talking to the parents about she's mad about the prank, and that's when we kind of see that, at least in my opinion, the parents are extremely biased towards Marty. They definitely cut him more breaks, and at least the mom does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cuts him more breaks and does not really see things on the side of Jane.
Okay, just to bring up a point, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but so Marty is crippled, and so that's one reason the mom is ultra sensitive. So when they're in the car, she makes a remark about him being crippled, and the mother threatens to smack the sister. So what did you think of that? That we're in an era where it's fine if your parent smacks the kid.
It was a little much, I guess, at that point. I can't remember. Did the father Because they were in the car together, but did the father say anything? The remark about any of
The
that?
father never says anything.
Okay.
But I just thought it was interesting. I think it was Steven Spielberg recently said that he regrets editing out the guns, the police officers' guns in E.T. because a film is like a historical document of that time and place. So like this is supposed to be, well, it's filmed in the 80s, but it's supposed to be set in the 70s, and a parent threatening to smack their kid was completely acceptable. Like that would have been
At that
seemed
time.
completely normal. Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about with the ET stuff. They edited out the guns.
Yeah, there were scenes that were taken out.
When they re-released E.T. a few years ago, the police officers had guns, and then he thought that would scare children, so they edited the guns out of the re-release. And now he regrets that.
Good. It's ridiculous.
They should re-release it again with the guns edited back in.
Yeah.
Dude, I got
Make
it
the
on
guns-
VHS.
Make
I
the
got it
guns
on
larger.
VHS. I got that copy.
Is that
That's
worth money now?
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just going to say, too, I mean, there's difference between threatening to hit and actually hitting, you know. I mean, I'm sure parents just say stuff like that sometimes.
To calm them down or make them listen, yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as the dad saying anything, I don't know if he actually did say anything in this particular
Yeah, I'd have
exchange,
to
but he pretty
go
much
back.
always just agreed with the mom.
Uh.
So whatever she said, he said. So,
Yeah.
you know, he didn't really have much of a independent thought.
Mhm.
But anyway, I'm gonna take this down a little avenue here that I didn't intend to.
That's all right.
Since we're talking about this, was that something that you guys were ever threatened with, or were you guys ever hit when you were younger?
No.
Mm-mm.
It was pretty much go in the corner or you're stuck in your room, but I'm like, I'm stuck in my room. I can do whatever I want.
This is awesome. I've got electronics and
Yeah. But no, nothing ever like that. I mean, there's always the old thing like, oh, you're going to get the belt or something like that I've heard from people, but to the point that it ever happened, no.
I had a
Did
crazy,
they say that to you, Derek? Did they say
No,
that
not
to
me.
you?
Just like
Okay.
for example, with my wife, like her and her brothers were growing up. That was always something with her parents. That was just a threat, but it never
Yeah.
actually happened.
Sure.
Yeah, my mom and dad spanked me. My mom claims to this day she has no memory of it, of doing that. And then I had a crazy babysitter. So my brother and I have a twin brother, and she was like sadistic, and she tied us to a signpost to the stop sign across the street. So when our mom drove up, we were tied to the stop sign across the street. And then one time, I have a clear memory of this. She put us in the oven.
What?
She
Oh
put
my
my brother and I down.
I've never heard that before.
Threatened that she was going to turn it on. And obviously didn't, but just like would do things to completely scare the ass out of us. And yeah, it was traumatic.
it's like the witch from Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
god.
hold on here. There's two sides to every story. What were you guys doing to her, Damon?
We didn't mess with her because we were afraid of her.
So she was just nuts.
Yeah, there was something wrong with this person. Yeah.
What?
To go
How,
get in the
how
oven.
old do you think she was?
Probably 10 years older than we were, 10 or
Okay.
11. Yeah. When my dad died, she was at the funeral, and I almost went up to her and said, like, what were you doing to us when we were kids like that? Like, that was
Yeah.
just crazy.
Like, what was
You
going
know,
through your mind?
What?
Did you hear what he said, Damon?
What? No, I didn't.
I think Derek asked what was going through your mind.
No, that was just like it's just like saying like what was going through their mind or like your mind.
Oh, I
too,
thought
like,
you meant to
what's-
Damon.
No, just the person who was doing that to him.
through
was
my
gonna
mind, it
say-
was just pure terror. We were like, we were just very, very frightened of her.
Yeah.
These days, I feel like that would be headline news. The oven story.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, that's
Nowadays?
clickbait right there.
Right. Right.
It really is. Jeez.
All right. Let's see, where was I here? So yeah, they had the argument in the car. And yeah, I did not mention yet that Marty's in the wheelchair, so it's good that you said that. Then they talk about Uncle Red, the Gary Busey character, how I guess he was supposed to come over. He's not. They kind of show that he's got some problems. Like third divorce. He's getting divorced
Something.
again.
And he's the brother of the mom, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And you can tell that Marty has a special connection to him because he seems pretty upset that he's not coming over.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can we point out that how epic Marty's wheelchairs are?
Yeah, I was gonna get into that later.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, have we seen at this point that? I mean, I guess we've
Just the
seen
one
at
that he's
this
been
point
in.
that it's a gas-powered wheelchair,
Yeah. At this point, we have.
which is I've never heard of.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. Oh, and then so in the middle of the night, Marty comes into Jane's room, gives her a couple bucks to pay for the pantyhose that were ruined in the puddle, and then Jane, takes only what it actually costs. So she's
like
obviously forgiving.
Mhm.
It's like $1.43 or something, $1.43 or something like that. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's what was ruined. The pantyhose. That's what you. What about the actual outfit? Isn't that what was?
Well, I
ruined?
think that will wash out. I would think.
The
I'm
pantyhose, I guess, could have
assuming-
been damaged easier. Yeah.
I'm assuming the pantyhose were torn. That's probably
Probably, yeah.
why. Yeah, no, Marty and they kind of established that her and Marty have a pretty good relationship, brother and sister relationship.
I really liked this family. Like there was a lot of warm moments in this, like more so than I would have ever imagined for being a movie about, a werewolf.
Right. Like even Marty's character, like you can tell he actually does care, and like when his sister was pushed down, like he didn't actually like that. It's like, oh, that was actually too much.
Right. Yeah.
I should point out too, you guys might not be aware. So Corey Haim is in this film. He was one of the two Coreys with Corey Feldman, and back in the 80s, they were big stars. They were on the cover of every teen magazine, every week. So they were as big as stars as you could be.
Was this before Lost Boys?
I think it was Lost Boys kind of launched them
Okay.
into that mega status. Yeah.
Okay, then it goes to there's a thunderstorm rolling in. We see this farmhouse, and then we see a woman who's upstairs in her bedroom. She's taking a bunch of pills, intends to kill herself.
This was the woman from the park who Jane overheard.
Gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same woman from the argument we heard earlier with the paternity. She's mad about the whole relationship situation. And then we see kind of shots of, a hand, like a werewolf hand. I don't know. Is this the one where the werewolf climbed up the trellis? Is that
Yeah, I was climbing up
Yeah.
to the top where she was.
What did you
And
guys
then-
think of that? That shot
Like just,
of the werewolf climbing.
I didn't actually think they were gonna show like the actual like hands of it. I thought it was just be like a shaky camera, like kind of looking up, going up. I didn't actually expect to see the furry furry werewolf hand.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought it
Yeah.
was kind of funny, actually. Like,
Yeah,
to
there was
see that much of it.
it was kind of one of those things where I like, oh, maybe they'll kind of go into this like Jaws, where you don't actually see what the monster is, at all, for at least until later on.
There was some, in terms of the look of the werewolf, there was some disagreement amongst the director and Stephen King. Stephen King apparently kind of wanted it to look like a black bear, and the original director, actually, I think, left the production, and the general consensus was maybe it wasn't such a good looking werewolf suit, so maybe that's why they kind of try to shoot around it as much as they could.
Sure. One critic referred to it as Smokey the Bear with a hangover.
I could see that.
Yeah. The original director, too, it was the guy that did Phantasm, Don Coscarelli, I think his last name is. Yeah. Just a fun fact.
So, yeah. Nice.
I should add too that that this woman's mother's downstairs playing the piano. So the woman is upstairs, like we said. The werewolf's climbing the trellis upstairs to her window. Very quickly, werewolf comes through the window. It's a blitz attack, gruesome attack as well. The mom hears all this commotion upstairs, grabs a gun. Right? She grabbed a gun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And comes upstairs, opens the door, finds her daughter, dead on the bed, gruesomely killed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a pretty graphic scene for the time, I think.
It was. Yeah.
Then we move to we meet the sheriff. That's the Terry O'Quinn character. Did you say, Derek, you knew him from Lost? Did you say?
Yeah,
that?
He was like one of the main guys from the series Lost. Then I'm like,
right.
Yeah, I thought he looked familiar.
I love that show. So yeah, and he's just on the phone. I don't know who he was talking to, but he was yelling at somebody. And that was just introducing him as the character. Then we go to the town bar. And there's just some characters arguing with each other. I don't remember specifically what it was about. I don't know if any of you do.
They're angry that there's a killer inside their small town, and that the police don't seem to know what's going on.
Okay.
They're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
So they just kind of established that there's unhappiness with the way law enforcement is handling this. Then we cut to what looks like school letting out for the summer. The last day of school. We see where Marty's really flying in his wheelchair. His friend calls him Madman Marty in the Silver Bullet. So that's when we first kind of learn where the name of the movie comes from. Insert
the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him pointing at the TV screen. It's like, they said it. They said it. The title of the movie, there it is.
And then I think the next scene was Marty going, walking. Well, he's not walking, but, taking Tammy, were they dating? I don't know.
She does kiss him.
Okay.
They must have had some type of close relationship at that point.
Yeah. So I guess she had just asked him to take her home because she was troubled by the murder of the woman that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. The police were still on the scene, taking care of that.
Marty and the girl actually ride past the house that has been attacked, and it has police tape all over it. So it's kind of an eerie situation for them.
Yeah. And that's why I think freaked her out a little bit. That's why she was happy that Marty stayed with her to walk home.
We meet. I think her name was Tammy. I may not have been. It's what it
I think
sounded
it was
like to me.
I think it was Tammy. Yeah.
We meet her father. He seems like a nice guy.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, always one thing I noticed about this movie is a lot of people drink.
Isn't that like another big Stephen King trope? He always
Is
has to
it? I
have
don't
like a
know.
crazy alcoholic.
Is that like a thing that he has in a lot of his stories?
I think it is. I think he includes like a lot of like either like religious nuts or like alcoholics,
Okay.
or sometimes at the same time.
Yeah.
The dad says to Marty, quote, "Damn cripples always end up on welfare," while he's drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say at that point, I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna die. Like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
After
kind of a
that,
douche.
uh, there was kind of a funny scene. Marty stops to get gas for his wheelchair at a gas station. Pulls up to the station just like he would in a car, and then he meets the attendant. They still had an attendant.
Oh yeah, that was a nice wholesome moment.
Yeah, yeah. They had a funny exchange with
They did, yeah.
doing the windshield and I forgot what else he said.
Didn't he say
Check
like
the oil and
your
all that.
bullshit meter too?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
something like that, yeah.
And I don't know the name of that guy, but that actor's been in a ton of stuff. I've seen him in a lot of things.
I immediately thought of Mrs. Doubtfire because I know he was in that. That's what I
Oh, was
recognized
he in
him
that?
from. Yeah, he played like the old guy who did like the dinosaur show TV show.
Oh,
and he
right,
replaced
right.
it.
Yeah.
That's
right.
the only thing that popped in my head. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, then we cut to Marty finally gets to spend some time with his Uncle Red, the Gary Busey character. They're playing cards in the living room. But then we also see that, he might not be the best influence because, I think he's doing a lot of drinking.
Mhm.
I should point out too, he's drinking straight out of a bottle of wild turkey, which is, if you've ever had wild turkey, is one of the most difficult shots to take, and he's just swig after swig out of wild turkey.
Wow.
And then the mom or Red's sister and him have kind of an argument about, she basically says, "Get your act together."
Yeah, the camera
influence.
In this particular scene, the camera keeps going to close-ups of the mom's face, and she's got this really concerned look on her face, as though Marty is going to pick up the drinking habit. And I should state too earlier, Jane mentioned that Uncle Red is going through his third divorce, so that's kind of who Red is.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we go to a scene of Tammy's dad, the one we talked about before, the one who is drinking a lot as well, and then insulted Marty with the cripple reference. He's watching wrestling by himself in his living room, drinking. Starts hearing noises. They made it clear earlier that Tammy was kind of afraid of something might be in the greenhouse or some outbuildings they had. So the dad starts hearing noises from there, takes a gun off the rack and goes outside and starts investigating. And he goes into the greenhouse. He's in there for a while. It was like a 2 or 3 minute long scene. And then we see the werewolf kind of peeking through the floorboards I don't know how this building was. I guess it has a basement. But yeah, then he starts just getting kind of paranoid, hearing noises. Flower pots start falling on the floor. The whole building started shaking, actually. And then the werewolf ends up coming through the floor, grabbing the guy, and the guy is impaled on one of the floorboards.
Yeah. Got what was coming to him, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of dry eyes when he died.
Lots of dry eyes.
Next, we go to a scene of Marty and Brady. They're flying kites in the park. And then just Jane's coming over just to get him for dinner. Another scene, too, where they kind of demonstrate that Jane's mom is unfair to her because she made a remark how, oh, she's mad at me because I didn't find you soon enough, which is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've got kind of a side thing about this real quick. Have any of you guys ever flown a kite with one of your friends?
Sadly, no.
I've flown a kite once with my sister, but that's the only time I can ever remember flying a kite. Like, I just can't imagine like going out as a kid and being like, "Hey, buddy, like let's go out in this field somewhere and fly our kites around."
Let's fly this kite.
That's a good point. It speaks to nostalgia for the 80s, because right now there currently is a lot of nostalgia for TV shows. A lot of TV shows and movies try to set themselves in the 80s, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think one of the big reasons is because it was the last time of innocence before sort of the internet took over. And so you would do things, you would fly a kite with your friends because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have movies on your phone, and you didn't have drones and things like that. So that was entertainment, was flying a kite with a friend.
Sure.
And that was pretty much the whole point of that scene, just that they're flying kites. I thought it was odd. I understood why later, but they focused for a long time on Brady flying the kite by himself after Marty left. I didn't get the point of that until later.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Brady was in the zone.
He was into it.
He was flying the shit out of that kite.
Yeah.
And I've never flown a kite before. I never actually have done anything like that. I never had one.
Just trying to master it at that point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we go to there's another bar scene, an argument between a deputy and I don't know if we ever caught this guy's name. We probably did. But he ends up becoming like kind of the spokesperson for the bar patrons.
His name was mentioned, I believe, but I can't think of it offhand. I thought it wasn't Andy or anything like that, but it was.
Well, he becomes kind of the loudmouth for this uprising. And then Brady's dad comes into the bar, just asking if anybody's seen his son. And that's when we kind of realize that something's wrong. And just a little sidebar with that. The moment I saw that actor, I was a little disturbed just because I don't know his name, but I've seen him in a lot of other things. But what I remember him from, he was in an episode of Law and Order SVU, and he played. It was shows you that sometimes maybe you just shouldn't play certain characters. But he played a pedophile, a piano teacher who molested boys on the SVU episode. And Whenever I see that guy, that's what I think of.
That's
I
what
mean,
pops in your mind.
yeah, he did a good job playing the character, but I don't think he'd want to be associated with that.
This is the
What's
father
that?
of the dad you're talking about.
Brady's
Right,
dad.
right. He was
Brady's
bald. He
dad.
had a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that Law and Order episode. Um, anyway, he comes in asking if anybody's seen him, and then that's when we see the sheriff, Terry O'Quinn character, Sheriff. I forgot his name. Anybody remember the sheriff's name?
Sheriff Joe Holler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sheriff Joe Holler, he's in the park where Brady was, and he's saying a prayer, Hail Mary. And then we see that Brady
Mary, Mother of God,
is dead. They didn't show it
pray
in
for us
detail,
sinners,
but from
No.
a distance you can see a body
now and every
laying in
hour of
this
our
gazebo, and then the dad rolls up in the car, and he has an anguishing moment, looking at his son again. We never see what he looks like, but you can imagine it's ugly.
They said it was like torn apart into pieces, or
Right.
torn apart or something. I
Right,
believe.
right.
Yeah.
So then they next go to the funeral service for Brady in the church. That's when we see that's when we get really introduced to the Reverend
Yeah.
for the local town. And he made, I didn't write it down, maybe Damon, you did, because there was probably a point to it. But he made a statement about the beast.
Yeah, he
did you
says
get it?
The face of the beast always becomes known. That's what he says. Well, he's
I thought he had another part to it.
That's what I wrote down. The face
Okay.
of also, Uncle Red is sipping from a flask while at church.
No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
he put it back. He
He
was
was
going to.
thinking about it, right? And then
Right.
he puts it back. Yeah.
Because after the lecture with his sister, he was saying, yeah, I gotta be a better influence.
All right,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But yeah, he did put it back. That's good. I'm glad you said that. Let's see, where am I here? Okay, then Marty, and this was a scene I'd like to talk with you guys about. Marty mentions he is thinking that these killings are not a person. He thinks that it is a werewolf, and he talks about that with his uncle. The reason I'm asking is, so far there was never any indication that Marty was interested in this type of stuff, right?
I mean, the only like main representation of him being worried was when he first saw the house where that one woman was murdered as she was taking Tammy home, because he kept staring at it for a while. And then she brought up, like, oh, I heard noises in the shed over there. That was the only, like, real main thing that introduced it to him. But I don't think I would think werewolf on the top of my head off that.
Yeah.
But
well, and
apparently
what I was also referring to, like, it's not like he had, like, like werewolf posters on his bedroom walls or something, or like they never indicated that he was like into that type of stuff.
Right.
So I thought, I didn't get like, he just jumped to it. Like, didn't that seem like that's what happened? Like you said it, Derek, but what about you guys? Didn't it seem like he just kind of came to that conclusion out of nowhere?
I think from the way I took it, it was kind of like showing that he has intuition. For instance, in the earlier in the movie with the scene when Red is drinking the wild turkey bottle, he says the mom doesn't seem to think much of Marty's ability. Red responds by telling the mother that there's more to Marty than his inability to walk. So maybe kind of showing that Marty has these gifts, and this is one of his gifts. Is he kind of knows that there's something strange, and it's kind of like his childlike innocence. The adults can't see what the kids can see. When they're seeing these bodies being ripped to pieces, and their imaginations could never wrap themselves around that a werewolf could actually be doing this. But because he's a child, he has this gift of innocence where he would think because I think he's supposed to be 11 years old, and the sister's supposed to be 15. So an 11-year-old would think maybe it's a werewolf. Whereas an adult would never think that.
Mm-hmm. Which you clearly see in his uncle's character. Like he thinks that's what do you think this is a joke? There's no way that's the situation. So.
Okay. Yeah, and so they have that discussion. Yeah, and then like you said, Derek, Red is not believing any of that. But at least it's getting the story, kind of moving forward. Then we move to the bar again. Things are getting heated. After so many deaths now, the town is getting frustrated, and then you add that they're all drinking. So they start to form a militia, essentially. The sheriff walks in, has a confrontation with the leader of this militia, and the sheriff's telling them that you got to let us handle it, let us do our jobs, let us do the investigation. You can't be vigilantes, essentially.
Yeah.
Private justice, as they put it. You can't do that. And then there was a very unusual exchange. I thought it wasn't very effective, where I didn't get this, and maybe you guys can make me understand it better, but someone told the militia guy to shut up. I think the bartender, the one who had the peacemaker bat, he told the head militia guy to shut up. And then Brady's dad is back. He comes back to the bar, and he tells him to shut up too.
Shut up, Andy. No, don't tell me to shut up. Yes.
But then he goes into this it didn't make any sense, because really he was telling the sheriff to shut up because he didn't agree with the sheriff.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Like, they're on the same side. Like,
okay, good. I'm glad you caught that too. I didn't understand any of that.
I think was it supposed to be just like a general, like, everyone in this room shut up because I've got the most weighty thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you referring to when the bartender first said shut up?
I was referring to when his dad came, the father, like his shut up was just like a general. Now everyone just shut.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was a bit confusing though.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The way that they did it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, because you guys are talking about when his father's in the corner and then he like overhears them arguing, and he's like, everybody just shut up, and then he's just trying to get his point across, saying what everybody needs to be doing is going out.
But nobody was talking at that time. That's why it was
just the guy who was the leader or eventually he is the leader.
Yeah.
And draws those people out. It's primarily him talking and telling the sheriff.
I guess, hey, yeah. I mean, that's really the only
I don't know.
Sensible explanation.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that part.
Yeah. So anyway, then the father, Brady's father, goes into this, emotional speech again, which I didn't think was very effective. But he talks to I'll tell you why in a little bit. But he talks to the sheriff about you talk to my son about private justice. You dig him out of the ground and talk to him about private justice. And, he's basically saying, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to, how dare you talk to me as a grieving parent, that we're going to handle it the legal way, I didn't think that was a very well done scene, particularly. I just think the
Was it his delivery of how he did it?
It was the delivery, but also just his point. His point just fell flat. I mean, dig my son up and tell him. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's a pointless thing to say. It just kind of fell flat for me. Like, you're saying this hypothetical situation, that is impossible. The kid's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And, I understand that he just lost his son in a horrible way. I get that, but I don't know. I guess the point was he's not level-headed, because then he eggs on the whole group and everybody leaves like a bunch of crazy people into their trucks, and they're armed, and then the Reverend is outside just walking by, I guess, on the sidewalk. And tries to stop everybody. He's like running in the street and saying, don't go, don't do this.
Because you guys are,
Because you guys are what?
No, I was about to say something, but it would have been a spoiler, so I'm not gonna get into it yet. But
it reminded me, what this scene reminded me of? Is it's pretty much the same thing. I think it was Halloween 4. They pretty much did the same thing. Do you remember that, Jeremy? Anybody?
It sort of rings a bell, yeah.
Where they rile up it's the same situation. They all come out of the bar. And
they're in the bar, and then they go out in their trucks, and then they try to find Michael. Yeah,
right.
And then they instead they kill some other guy who was just I don't know.
It's one of my favorite scenes, personally. It's one. I don't know. There's just something funny about it. They just start shooting blindly at a guy at this gazebo, and then the guys they see it's not Michael, and he's like, "You said you saw Myers." You dumb son of a bitch.
That is a funny part. I do. But then, they just murdered somebody. Shouldn't they be getting in trouble?
Right.
Nah.
Well, it's and then he blames that guy. It's like, okay, nobody told you to shoot.
Right.
Yeah, but they just kind of went at it, and
I hope everybody knows we're not talking about the same movie anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, the fact that you said that it is a very similar situation.
Right.
That they were just in, yeah.
So anyway, the Reverend's trying to stop everybody from leaving. They don't listen.
Well, and to your point about how the father was being like a little, how you didn't buy his whole plea and his appeal. Like, it was weird, the sheriff's reaction too, because it was like instant, like, oh yeah, okay, like, what have I done? You guys are right, kind of. That's how I felt about it.
No, that is true too, because he kind of just gave into it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, whatever, I just give up wherever you guys go do whatever you want. Go find him and kill him.
Yeah, it's like he hung his head in shame almost, like, oh my God. Like, all right, you guys, you made a great point by screaming, my son's been ripped to pieces 1,000,000 times.
But one question I had with this scene is, so from their trucks, they drive to the woods. And why is the murder out in the woods? Like, everyone's been killed in the town.
Well, that's
also very good.
Before we get into the woods, I think the only reason I can think of with what Jeremy just said is, he probably just backed down because he's just being respectful. you
Sure.
know. But I agree with you, that I thought that could have been done better, that scene.
It's it's like it was pretty much one against what 20, 30 guys in that bar. He was literally like the only officer in there. So like
I
they would
think was
literally
the
take him
deputy in
down.
there at that time? I don't
I don't
remember.
remember. I don't remember.
Either way, it was like 2, if that, against 20,
Yeah.
like you
Right.
said.
So he's just like,
Um,
I can't stop these guys. They're gonna do whatever they want.
Well, and
Sure.
this is a good point. And I know that we don't need to get into deep analysis here. At this point, though, if you're having, I mean, how many killings is this now? Like 4, at least?
It was the guy
And
at the
now,
beginning.
it's
It
the
was like
killing of
3.
a child.
It was 3, I
There,
think.
there would be much more
Yeah.
law enforcement involved at this point. It wouldn't just be the town. It would be state law enforcement. It would be federal law enforcement.
I mean, yeah, it's the same thing with Michael Myers, like how many people he was going after, but it was still just the town cops going, okay, guys, let's get this.
To be fair, though, to defend Halloween, he killed like an entire police station.
But he did. He eventually did, yeah.
So,
That's true.
yeah,
But at
you're
that
right.
point, yeah.
They did, at least in Halloween, though, they did bring in state officials, but he killed everybody.
He did,
Um,
yeah.
Um,
Well, what's the
But
span
yeah,
of
so-
time for all the silver bullet killings? Is this like over the course of like a week? Or like,
The film starts about a month before, sometime in May, about a month before school lets out, and it ends on Halloween.
oh, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 5
okay.
months.
Okay, that's a long time actually.
It
Mhm.
really is.
So anyway, so yeah, all the militia is leaving the bar, and then like Damon said, they go to the park. See, but you mentioned isn't that where Brady was killed? That's why they go there.
It seems
I
to
thought
me
that was
that
the same place.
they go out to the woods / to like a marsh area,
Yeah.
or maybe they started in the park and then
I think they
got
started
into but
Yeah.
eventually the big group eventually gets whittled down to smaller groups, and then one smaller group is sort of they encounter some fog, and so this kind of is where we'll do some split screens where we did a film called The Beast of Bray Road, where we borrowed heavily from this film, from this exact scene, as far as how they do their killings. Because when I was a kid, I thought this was the coolest scene I'd ever seen. Pretty much.
They focus
I
on.
think-
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Just remarking Damon quick, like when he said it was the coolest scene, like even like I've heard people say, just by reviews in the past, like this scene like traumatized kids or like childhood, and then they actually made them love the movie later on.
Well, they focus on 2 groups. There's the group of like 5 or 6 people, and then there's a pair of people. One guy gets his foot stuck in a trap.
Did anybody else
And
feel
the-
bad for that guy? Like
I don't know what the point of that scene was, honestly.
I
They never
didn't
showed
either.
them again. He's
No.
still out there.
I think it was
yeah,
just
he still is.
was to show-
is.
to demonstrate that the fog was making it hard to see.
It's the fact that the guy's like, just let the bear trap go. He's like, ah, he's just still in pain.
I know somebody yelled, and then I guess that made him knee-jerk react to letting it
Yeah.
go, and he snapped it on him again.
Yeah. When I saw that, I'm just like, oh, the
Yeah.
pain just kind of like went right past me.
And then they show the group that Damon was talking about, the group of like 5 or 6 people. It consists of the bartenders there with his bat. There's like an older couple there, one guy who's kind of fearful, and that was
Making
he said
lemonade.
that lemonade line at the end.
Which Derek
And
thought was an
then-
original joke that I made.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
the lead militia guy was with them, and then a couple other people. And that's when they're in the heavy fog and they start being taken down one by one. It was
Well,
kind
those
of
were-
disturbing how the werewolf takes the bat from the guy.
Like hits the guy
I
with
thought
it?
that was disturbing, you know.
A little bit. I
That
thought the
he's
disturbing
using
part...
his
go
weapon
ahead.
against him, you
Yeah.
know.
There's also an instance of a very, very fake-looking human head that's being held up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The part when that one guy who was like really like freaking out, that skinnier guy, like he got dragged down, and then you see him come up again, but like half of his face was like missing.
Right.
That was actually kind of freaky.
I think the choice to have the werewolf use a weapon was a little silly.
Well, and the way they showed it too, I you know, the arm, something about the motion of it just looked really fake. The
Yeah.
arm looked fake. That was bizarre.
Look, I could be completely wrong about this because I've never seen like really looked into werewolf stories and all that stuff. But like when somebody turns into a werewolf, is it supposed to be like they don't remember anything that goes on when they are a werewolf, or they still have some intention of being able to?
It can vary depending on the story. Some do
Okay.
and some don't. Yeah, a werewolf probably wouldn't have opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
Well, and according to this story, though, and I'm not giving any spoilers away, but didn't they say it depends on the intensity of the full moon?
Mm-hmm.
When the
They
moon
did.
is completely full, the werewolf is one, most powerful, but two, most away from its human counterpart.
That's what Uncle Red said, I think, later on.
Okay.
Like, I think he referenced something very similar to that when he was talking to Marty.
So, and then if I remember correctly, back in that fog scene, is it assumed that everybody's killed? Because they didn't show everybody get killed.
No, I think just that party of people got killed. Because
Okay.
otherwise, it would have been like the whole half the town was slaughtered. You know.
Well,
So
I didn't mean the whole town. I meant that group. So it's
Yeah.
assumed that group was all killed because they didn't show the whole group get killed.
Like the
Right?
leader.
They didn't show
like
that older couple. The man and
The older
woman.
couple that was freaking out, the bigger guy, and then the wife.
Right, the old man
Yeah.
who almost peed his pants.
Yeah.
They didn't show him get killed, right?
No, they were running out
Okay.
from what I last think when they last showed him.
And the woman, that was his wife, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
And then the leader, like the main guy did he get out? Because he was with them when that all happened.
That's right. I don't know
remember.
if they showed him die either.
Yeah.
But we never saw him again.
But then
Right.
again, when there's that next scene that's right after this, I believe, that you'll mention about the funeral for him.
Yeah, so then we go to there's a funeral scene of the, whoever all the victims were. There was like 4 coffins. What were you
so
going to say about that, Derek?
It was pretty much like that when you mentioned the number. I'm like, there was more than 4 people in that group, so not all of them died.
Yeah, maybe they had a couple bodies per coffin.
Yeah, that's true.
Saving money.
It's like, oh, there's just pieces, let's put this in there, there, save money.
This is overwhelming for the coroner, This would be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we have that funeral scene. And then it's kind of like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm assuming that funeral occurred, but then it ends up turning into a dream sequence. And I thought that was a very well done scene. I thought that was one of the better scenes in the movie, how they did that with the effects and everything.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It did mend
there
into
was
like
no,
a dream
there was
sequence.
no transition really. It just went right from what we thought was reality to a dream. People start turning into werewolves. The Brady's father turns into a werewolf. The sheriff turns into a werewolf. Pretty much everybody.
So that probably didn't actually happen. So it's like obviously it's interesting. I didn't think.
Yeah, I don't know when the reality ended and when the dream began, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, the person having the nightmare is the Reverend. He wakes up in bed screaming.
And he screams, "Let it end, dear God."
Anything else to add to that scene?
This is when you begin to suspect that the Reverend may not be a man of God.
Yeah. Did anybody think like his build up to that point was a little shallow? Like, okay, it was kind of rushed because he wasn't really involved that much up to at least that point. He was just like in a few scenes, and then he was all of a sudden boom.
I did after this scene. Though, I did notice that whenever the Reverend is shown, he's got more and more like growth on it for like a tiny little bit of a beard. Like he's sort of given up shaving.
Oh, I didn't even notice
I'm
that.
a little questioning of where did you get that idea, Damon, that he was turning away from God? I didn't get that.
Just when I watched the movie, there's something wrong with this guy. You know, he wakes up in a cold sweat and says, "Let it end, dear God." You know, obviously there's something wrong with him.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like at that point, like if like you were suspecting like this was either affecting him so much, or like yeah, like maybe he is the actual monster. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where was I? Okay, now we realize that things are really getting serious. The whole town is under curfew now. You know, they just show the main family, the Marty's family driving through the town. Nobody's out. You know,
It's the 4th of July at this point.
oh, is that what that was? With the festival fireworks being canceled?
Yeah.
That was one question I had. Was that whole festival canceled or just the fireworks?
I would imagine probably everything because it looked like the town was almost vacant at that point.
Right.
There's a curfew or whatever going on.
Well, it said on the sign fireworks canceled, not the festival.
Yeah,
So
they
I
were
was like,
pretty vague.
Why
They
would they
should've-
have the festival but not the fireworks? You know, but I'm sure the whole thing was probably canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, during the day, like most of these murders took place during the night, right? Yeah. No, except the kid, that was during the day, right? When he was murdered flying the kite. So, yeah. So technically, one was during the day.
You know, that's a good point. I mean, I thought the werewolf was only out at night.
So the first two were at night, and then the one when he was flying the kite, that was during the day. Unless he was out there that part flying the kite that late.
Well, Jeremy said, I think that was Jeremy, that he was really into that.
Yeah.
He was in the zone with the kite.
So he
would have been flying that thing for like 3 or 4 hours, yeah.
Well, as people who really have never flown kites very often, maybe we don't know how addicting it can get.
True.
Yeah.
I hope you guys know that I'm joking. All right.
You are?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. Yes.
Yeah. So am I.
But no, that's actually a good idea. Before we go into like maybe he was there that long, and then it was getting towards the evening, and then he came out and yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't even think of that, Derek. That it was daylight still. You know. Otherwise, what explanation would there be? Because they had always been night killings, you know. Okay. So yeah, the town's under curfew. Everything's canceled. This was a bit of an odd scene, I thought. I did not think that Marty was taking all these murders. He was taking them very easily. Like, his best friend was just brutally killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
And
not enough that the monster
he
killed all those people.
Seemed
He killed Brady.
not
That's
bothered
something to cancel
at all.
fair.
Not as bothered as you would think, but he was more bothered by the fact that those fireworks were canceled.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
I know,
Which
that
he
was
was.
a weird. That's kind of where I was going with this, because then he has that conversation with his uncle again. Uncle Red is doing something in the garage, and they're just
He's
talking.
building the new. He's Uncle Red is.
Well, we
souping up.
don't know that yet. You got to wait for that, Damon. we got to save that.
It's coming up.
Anyway, but Marty basically goes into, oh my God, my life sucks right now. You know,
Yeah.
and
Because
it's
of
like
fireworks.
everybody's dying
It was
around you.
fireworks.
You know, the town is in grief, and you're complaining about your girlfriend left town and the fireworks are canceled.
Well,
That's why he kind of jumped in. It's like, man, my girlfriend's gone because of this thing and this fireworks. But my buddy, you know, he's dead. But that's part of it.
Yeah,
the fireworks
Right.
was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
Maybe that was his way of coping. It was like the
Yeah.
normalcy of a traditional 4th of July fireworks show, and now you can't even get that.
Exactly.
and then that's when we see that Uncle Red unveils the new wheelchair, Silver Bullet 2.0. And it's a pretty intense vehicle. It's pretty much a 3-wheeled motorcycle, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they had like a 2 to 3 minute scene of him just driving down the road with the thing.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah.
Like that montage was so out of place in this, I felt, from everything else. Like what the hell are we watching now?
I was thinking about the legality of all that. You can't. He has no license.
He's just kind of driving on the actual roadways with the thing.
Even the first wheelchair, I don't think would have been allowed to ride on.
Like he literally, like on that driving scene of him using it, he literally cut it in front of a car.
Yeah, he passed. Yeah,
Because he's like, I've got to go faster than this.
right.
Well, it was the 70s.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Red, we should say too that Red has built him this new bike out of fear that Marty could be a victim, and so if he has this faster bike, he can escape the murderer.
Did he say that?
No, that's what as far as when I watched it is like
When it
why
was
he
implying.
did it. Yeah, why he did it.
Okay. Okay, and then they have a barbecue in the backyard.
Well, I tell you, after every pork tart
And-
dinner I eat. Oh, now, come on. One more piece of body pie.
Are you sure?
They unveil the wheelchair to the family. They see it. You know, they I don't know. I'm sure the mom would have put this together, but the Uncle Red says, you know, keep it a secret with how fast it goes. I'm sure you'd put that together just seeing the engine that's on it.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, look
And
at the
it
size
weighs
of this
probably
thing.
like 300 pounds, you know. So
Didn't it have like stacks in the back or something too?
Yeah.
yeah, the exhaust. It
Yeah,
had
the
like
exhaust on this.
motorcycle exhaust.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it looks perfectly. It's fine.
That's fine.
right. Yeah. No helmet. No license.
Yeah.
And he's 11. Well,
Right.
I had a go-kart when I was little, so I guess. But
No, I mean, that's not to like take it off course, but my niece, she started driving like actually real like go-kart racing at the age of 5, and she still races till
Yeah.
this day. So they
Yeah,
can
that's
start
not
really
that-
young.
you can. Yeah, I was young too when I was doing that. But I was wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
He's already paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then
They never really said why he was paralyzed, did they? He just said he just is.
no.
Okay.
What's so funny,
No,
Jeremy?
I'm sorry. I just go, keep going. I just
No, what's
thinking about-
funny? Okay.
no.
Oh,
I
that
was
is a
laughing
good
at your
point.
comments about like oh, it doesn't matter if he gets. Are you saying it doesn't matter if he gets in an accident because he's already paralyzed?
No.
Is that what you were implying?
No,
Oh,
my
okay.
point was he's already paralyzed.
Like,
We
yeah,
don't
e
he doesn't need
him
any more,
paralyzed.
right? Okay,
No, that's
okay, I
that's
gotcha.
actually
I
a
gotcha.
really interesting, like that you mentioned that. Like he's already paralyzed. You want to keep him as safe as possible.
Right.
Let's give him these injured, these wheelchairs that drive on the road. And he could get killed. Anyway.
Okay, let's see. Oh, and then after the barbecue, Uncle Red has to get going, and then he gives Marty some fireworks secretly.
I said I had something.
Again,
I believe you do recall.
To me, that's not. Maybe that's how people are in rural areas, but I mean, give a bunch of dangerous fireworks to an 11-year-old.
I thought that part was kind of random, honestly. When he
I
did
think
that, like,
that's
oh, here's a bag full of fireworks.
questionable.
Have fun, kid. And then,
Right,
I don't know.
right.
I had access to high-powered fireworks when I was like around 11 and 12. So, yeah, I think it could happen.
Okay,
Well, then
but
again,
we're-
4th of July weekend, he couldn't go to
What?
see the fireworks. So here's
Wait a
make your
minute,
own, have
though.
your own.
What do you mean you had access? You could get to them, or you were given them?
Given them.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And
Another
you fired
thing,
them off yourself?
Yeah. Well, we'd go to a friend's backyard and we'd throw bottle rockets at each other.
I will attest to that because my brother and my dad used to have a bunch of them in the basement, and we let them off in the middle of our street. We got in trouble a couple of times. And in high school, my buddy Nick used to buy all that stuff to set them off all over the place in the neighborhood. He even threw some at me. believe it or not. So yes, I will attest that people do that stuff.
Were you gonna say something, Jeremy, before?
yeah, it was a little unrelated to what we were talking about, but going back to the party, the 4th of July party they were having at the house, were we supposed to have the impression now that Uncle Red is cleaned up, like not drinking anymore?
Kind of like the mom kind of forgave him a little bit more.
Yeah, and you don't see him really behaving in that way and having drinks, and it just
Yeah, there
seems
is
like
a
the
scene-
vibe is better.
Yeah.
There's a scene where it shows Red in bed, and he's with this new woman and who he's in bed with. And so maybe that kind of shows maybe he's turning over a new leaf. He's got in a new relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's all.
I didn't get that impression, but they definitely, it seemed like the relationship was getting better
It
between
was. Yeah.
the sister and him. He was being more accepted into the family, even though he's still the same dangerous influence given the fireworks,
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so yeah, then he gives him those fireworks. Then that night, we see Marty. He sneaks out of his bedroom on the 2nd floor, climbs out the window, climbs down this. I don't know what that was. It wasn't a trellis. But he climbs down that, has the wheelchair waiting for him. And he leaves. He takes off with the fireworks. He goes to this park, which I thought was a neat park. I kind of would like to know where they filmed that. He goes on this bridge that's over a river, and he starts shooting off the fireworks.
Random thought. Not. You think the parents would have heard him leave?
Oh, absolutely! With how loud that thing was.
Yeah, that's why I was like, they didn't hear that?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I thought that
forgot.
right away when I saw that scene. I'm like, they didn't hear him
Right.
leave? There's no
That
way he could
thing
quietly
is so
leave.
loud. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a lawnmower engine.
Right.
With how loud it is. But anyway, and just another comment that I thought of is, I get that kids want to have fun and they don't recognize danger a lot, or they don't think that they're at risk, but he knows how dangerous it is right now. I mean, people are dying left and right in the town, and he goes out by himself to light off the fireworks, but then he's out there knowing that there's a murderer out somewhere. I didn't think he was taking it very seriously.
That's a good
this
point.
whole thing. So yeah, he's shooting off the fireworks. We see that the werewolf is in the area and he is watching from a distance. And then the werewolf is on one end of the bridge, starts confronting Marty, and Marty finally sees him. He happened to be lighting, or maybe what kind of firework was that he had? I don't know fireworks. Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Projectile. It might have been like a vow rocket or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
But anyway, I think that was like the last one that he had. And he lights that up, and because I don't think he could get his wheelchair started. So he comes up with the idea to light the firework and shoot it at the werewolf, and it is successful. It ends up flying into his eye.
Yeah.
And that then he's able to start the wheelchair and get out of there. So he dodges that danger. One little thing that I want to make a comment of that bothered me, I really don't like how he just dumped all the firework garbage in the river.
Yeah, he just kind of like kind of tossed.
Like what the hell's that? You know?
Obviously doesn't care about the environment.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I hear you.
No, I noticed that too. Like, I'm like, okay, let's just.
Yeah,
I mean, back then, kids probably don't care.
He just goes like this. He just tosses it over the railing.
Yeah. I mean, back then, kids like that didn't think about that stuff, or they just don't care. So, I don't know.
And then was that about it with that scene? Did anybody else want to add anything to that? The firework going into the eye?
He had good aim.
Right.
Really good aim.
Yeah.
Especially for seeing that thing at night. Were there lights around that park? I don't remember.
Other than the light from the firework.
The moonlight, maybe, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think the next scene, I might have skipped something, but I think the next scene was the next day. Marty talks to Jane about this incident.
Told me something
and
that was clearly unbelievable.
And she is on board with it. You know, she believes him. And so they come up with a good plan. I thought it was a good plan. She goes around under the pretense of collecting recyclable items, soda cans and bottles. And so they know that they need to be looking for somebody with an eye injury now.
Yeah.
And she goes around to all the townspeople and their homes and their businesses. And I thought there was a funny scene where she was really committed to this, where she like takes a hot towel off the guy's face in the barber shop.
Yeah.
She needs
he wasn't
to
too
make
happy
sure.
about that.
No. She needs to make sure that she gets everybody.
Yeah.
And then she ends up not really discovering who it is. This can drive is being done by the church. So she comes to drop off all the cans back at the church, and she's talking to the reverend, just saying she's got him and all that. I don't know, is he like gardening?
I think so.
Yeah.
Stooped down.
He stooped away from her, doing some gardening.
Yeah, his back is to her.
Yeah, because at that point, like, she got to the reverend's place, but that's when she kind of say, "Oh, my brother's stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And she does not look at him directly. She goes to the garage to drop off the cans, and she's unloading them in there, and there's like big piles of cans in there, and um, I think, what was it, a rat? Was it a rat
Yeah.
that popped up and scared her? She fell into the cans, and then she got up and saw kind of underneath a little bit. She saw that peacemaker bat that I mentioned that belonged to the bartender, and it had big teeth marks in it.
Yeah.
And then the Reverend walked in, and she saw that he has a patch over his eye, and she realized that it's him. He's the guy.
Trouble.
What did you guys think of that scene? Does at that point does he know that she knows it's him? I don't we were talking about the connection, like how aware is he when he is the werewolf, you know?
I
I
think
don't-
he knew.
There is because the way he was talking to her, like, okay, she knows something, and the fact that, yeah, like he was very suspicious of it, and then
So she gets out of there, and then let's see. And then he and Jane have the discussion that it's him, and they kind of think about like how to approach that. They say that, you know, it would pretty much be pointless to talk to the adults about it. They won't believe this. So then they come up with the plan, which may have been new at that time. I don't know. But they come up with the plan that's been done over and over, where you cut out letters from magazines and make like this serial killer type letter.
yeah,
And he sends it to the pastor or the reverend saying, I don't remember what it said word for word, but it's like, we know who you are.
it's
I
like,
think it
no,
says
he
Kill
did.
yourself.
Yeah, you should kill yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you kill yourself? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they sent a couple of those, I think they sent. They sent like
I think
3.
over like a 3-day span.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Expecting what?
To do it that way.
Yeah, like that, especially the content. Like it's pretty blunt.
Yeah,
To kill yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, and then Jane and Marty then talk to the Uncle Red about this new discovery that they know that it's the Reverend. He still does not believe them. He thinks they're crazy. But then he does play along. They do go to the church. He drives them to the church to kind of watch the Reverend. He was like making some
See him?
charity display. I think that's what it was. He was painting something outside. And I think that's kind of where it ended there with that scene, that they're suspicious of him.
yeah.
Well, the kids know it's him, but the uncle is suspicious, but he's not convinced.
He's not convinced
yet.
that. Yeah,
And then I think the next scene is Marty watching a baseball game. Is that the
Yeah.
next scene?
Yeah, he's watching a baseball game, and the priest is watching Marty in his car.
They had a scene where I think their point of it was that he was feeling depressed that he can't do the things that the able-bodied people can do, because he was watching them play baseball.
yeah. And the
for a
shots were
while.
like of their feet
Right,
on the field.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Their legs.
right. And then, like Damon said, the Reverend rolls up in his car. He's watching him, and then that led to a scene I was a bit surprised by. I didn't expect there to be a chase. But he's following him on the road. Marty's going home, in his motorcycle wheelchair, and the Reverend's trying to run him off the road, trying to kill him. They get to a bridge. He tries to run him off through the guardrail. It doesn't work. He turns around like 2 or 3 times to hit him, but he dodges it every time. And then they end up driving down this like abandoned road where there's a condemned bridge. It's a covered bridge. The car got stuck in the mud for a little bit, so he was able to lose him for a while. And but there had been moments where the car and the motorcycle made contact. He dented the fender, and that's important later on. But then Marty gets stuck in the covered bridge. He can't get over this bump. Plus, I think the engine stalled. The Reverend comes over to him. He knows he's in there. He gets out of the car, walks into the bridge, starts talking to him, essentially justifying why he killed some of the people. He justified why he killed the suicidal woman, saying that suicide is the greatest sin. I killed her so that her eternal life will go on, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, because it's like, okay, but murder isn't a bad thing.
Right, it's still the same thing that he's doing.
murdering all these people, and
Yeah.
he acts like he's right to do this. I mean, it's one of the 10 commandments, you shall not kill. So I thought
And he's
that
still
was
doing
like,
it.
I thought that, yeah, that was like the lamest attempt at justifying any of this. Plus, it doesn't even need to be justified. I mean, that's what werewolves do. They just kill.
Right.
Right.
It does give some insight though into what he does experience then as the wolf though. So he does remember what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we were talking about before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's it was kind of getting to be a kind of the end. It almost seemed like Marty's gonna die. Then luckily, this farmer drives off on a tractor, and Marty knows him. He calls out his name, and he gets the attention of the farmer, and the Reverend kind of backs away from the scene and slowly creeps out of there, and the farmer saves his life. So that was lucky. Otherwise, he would have killed him right there.
Oh yeah, he would have been dead right there.
Yeah.
That's when you really notice his overgrowth of his beard. So then Marty and Jane, they both have silver necklaces. And they ask,
Well, wait,
Uncle
you're
Red.
skipping part here. They meet with Uncle Red in the driveway, and that's when Red really starts to recognize that the Reverend is involved here, because he sees the paint transfer from his car on the fender damage. So he knows that his car was involved in trying to run him off the road.
Yeah, because he was asking like what color the car was, and like that's the same color here on the bike.
And then the sheriff, they talk to the Uncle Red has a meeting with the sheriff, and he tells him those concerns. Just like Red didn't believe it, neither does the sheriff. But the sheriff is at least willing to look into the Reverend. So he goes to the church, kind of just snoop around at night. And he goes into the garage. He sees the car, and he sees that there is damage consistent with what Red told him. Then he goes into like a little room off into the garage, and the Reverend comes out of nowhere, just from the shadows, and confronts him. I don't remember if he said anything meaningful. Does anybody remember if he said anything meaningful?
Not that I recall.
Yeah. The sheriff pulls out his gun, and they start just talking a little bit. It becomes pretty heated quickly and physical. And if I remember right, I think what did the werewolf hit him with?
Was it the bat?
The same one? The Peacemaker one? Or a different one?
Thought
It
was
probably was the
Peacemaker
same one, because that was in that pile with the cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that Peacemaker bat came back, and he hit him really hard over the head. He had a horrible head injury.
Oh, that was
And,
pretty bad. I'm surprised he was able to like actually like look at things.
Right,
Thought he'd been
right.
like knocked out.
He didn't look good. Yeah.
No.
So he was killed. And then they moved on. Then they have the meeting the next day. Marty, Jane, and Red talking about how they sent the sheriff to look into it, and now nobody knows where he is. And that's when they offer the jewelry, the necklace and the crucifix. They're made of silver, and they give it to Red to have it melted down to make a silver bullet.
That was convenient. They just
Yeah.
both happen to have silver things.
Is there anything else to that scene anybody wants to add with the park and, offering the jewelry?
No, but the next scene when it shows the silversmith forging the bullet, it's a pretty cool montage, I thought.
He confirmed
Mhm.
the high-grade silver content of my
Shows that he puts a lot of craftsmanship into making it, as good as well as he can
It
make it.
takes silver to kill.
Yeah, and they had an odd conversation between Red and the silversmith or blacksmith. It sounded like he knew exactly what that was being made for.
Yeah, that's the impression I got, was that he kind of knew that they were making it for a werewolf.
Yeah. And then we go to kind of setting up the ending here. They arrange the parents to go out of town on a little romantic getaway.
And it's Halloween.
That's right. Yes, it's Halloween now. Uncle Red says that he won a trip from Publishers Clearinghouse, and he gives it to them because he doesn't have a girlfriend anymore.
Well, that was quick.
What was quick?
He was sleeping with a woman in that one scene, and then it's like, no, she's gone.
Well, that's why. I mean, I didn't say it at the time, but I don't
Yeah.
think him being with that woman is any indication that he's
No, he was
straightening
probably
up.
just sleeping with her, and then that's about it.
I mean, that could have been a arranged payment type situation.
Yeah. Dang it, Uncle Red.
Anyway, so yeah, they go out of town, and Marty kind of puts it together that this was not coincidence. He knows that Red arranged this thing. So then they come up with the plan they're gonna lure the werewolf to them because they know that the werewolf is looking for Marty and Jane. So they're in the living room in the house. It's like 3:00 in the morning, and nothing's happening. And they're starting to think that nothing is going to happen. They're saying it's getting to be dawn soon.
This is too much.
This is pointless. But that's when, and we do start seeing the hand again. we know the werewolf is nearby. He's touching the siding and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, Jane did see the werewolf. He appeared in the window briefly. She was the only one who saw it. And that's when, I think that Red said, "Oh, you're just seeing things," or something like that. And then did he take the bullet out?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Out of like frustration, he's like,
Okay.
"Kids are getting to bed right now. I'm done
Yeah.
with this nonsense." And the bullet drops onto the floor and falls into a grate.
Well, wait. Did that happen yet? I thought the electricity gets pulled next.
And that's why it gets dropped?
So either way, the electric gets pulled, the werewolf pulls the cords, and they're in the dark. And then they're freaking out, of course. The uncle kind of is saying, "Hey, this doesn't mean anything yet. It just means there's no electricity." But that's when the werewolf just busts through the wall. And I think, is that when it goes in the vent?
Yeah, I think he's trying to when he sees the werewolf, he tries to load the pistol, and then it, rolls on the ground, falls in the vent, and it looks like, utter disaster.
Right.
For some reason, I had like an image in my head of the werewolf just busting through the wall like the Kool-Aid guy. Oh, yeah!
I was going to say, there was a suspense here of just the situation of the fact that you can't miss,
Yeah.
If you miss, you're screwed.
Just got one.
And the way he was I thought he was kind of clumsy, the way he was handling the gun. He's like waving it around, and there's two kids in the room. He's waving the gun around, and I'm pretty sure at that time the gun was loaded with the bullet in the correct chamber for it to be fired. And he's waving it around, and then he had fallen asleep. He wakes up startled. The gun just drops on the floor. It could have went off right then.
Right.
And Marty mentioned that. I thought they needed to be way more careful with the gun. Again, you only have one chance to kill this thing.
Right.
You can't miss. If the bullet misfires, you're all dead. There is no other way of killing this thing.
Right.
So they needed to be really careful. But I thought that was it added some suspense. They never really said it necessarily, but you kind of
as a viewer, you can see all this.
Yeah, you knew that you have to hit it. You can't screw this up. So anyway, the werewolf busts down the wall, gets into a fight with the uncle. They kind of go back and forth. The bullet rolled into the vent. Marty's trying to get it. Jane intervenes. She kind of gets involved, hits the werewolf with something. I don't remember what. And then pretty much while Marty is trying to get the bullet, the werewolf goes back and forth between Jane and the uncle with fighting them off. The uncle kind of hits him, I think, with a fire poker, and just stuff like that. And then finally, Marty does get a hold of the bullet and has the gun, puts it in the chamber, and just as the werewolf's about to attack them, he fires into the other eye, the one that was not hit before with the firework. And then the werewolf just kind of drops back into the corner, and he's dead. At least they think. And then, they have a moment of we can relax now. It's over. Then the werewolf starts turning back into the Reverend, which I thought was really well done. I was really impressed by those effects, especially for that time. I thought that looked pretty real. What did you guys think?
Yeah, it was good how they did it. It wasn't like really like quick or anything, but it was like you could see it like on the hand and all that stuff pretty slow and transitioning back.
Yeah, I don't know how they did that. I mean, that didn't look like computerized.
Well, they were using dissolves.
Between each frame.
Yeah, between each. So they just did, shot him in various states of being the werewolf and just used the time or the dissolves to make it appear as though he was changing back.
It reminded me, the way they did that, it reminded me of one of my favorite scenes from Christine. Have you guys seen that movie?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites, where the car is regenerating and fixing itself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's very similar. They did great with that too.
Christine, you said?
Yeah, Christine, about the car,
Okay.
the killer car. It's another Stephen King story.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
Oh, it's great. You should see it.
Yeah.
It's a John Carpenter movie.
Okay.
He directed it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite horror movies. So he's going back into the Reverend, and then you can see that he's naked, and then his eyes are gone because they've been destroyed. One from the firework, one from a bullet, and then randomly he just like has a jolt of I don't know what that was, residual life.
I was gonna do just one last.
Yeah,
One last
it's never
move.
dead. It's never actually dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think he was alive, it was like I don't know what you'd call it. Well, really, it was a jump scare. That was the whole point of it. But
Mm-hmm.
from a plot standpoint, I don't know what that was. And then that's kind of the end. The three of them are sitting on the floor against the wall, and
We do hear adult Jane's voiceover one last time where she basically says, and then we were happy together, because the movie starts off with them being sort of enemies, and now they're healed and they're friends, and yeah.
So I wanted to comment on that because I thought that was odd. I even wrote down what she said. She said, something about how I could tell Marty I loved him, and I used to not be able to do that. And then he said, I love you too, Marty. Good night. I didn't get that. It left me wondering what happened to them. Are they not speaking to each other anymore? What did you guys take from that? I thought that was handled oddly.
I think it was just trying to point out that she was retelling the story from the future, and she's telling a past event. So she's just saying, this is how it was when Yeah, that's the way I took it.
At that moment, not at that time that she was speaking.
Well, I'd like to know, where is she now? She kind of speaks as if they're estranged.
Or Marty isn't even around anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
By that.
Dead.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll make this into the next Mysteries of the Beyond.
Happened to.
Well, okay. What about this though? Why does she say good night?
Well, that's what I mean. Good night.
Good night. That's the end of the tale
Good
for
night,
today.
sweet prince.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Oh, that too.
Maybe
That left
she's at
me,
the funeral. That's the eulogy she's giving at Marty's funeral, recounting the werewolf story and how that was the night that brought them closer together.
It was based
This
off
is
of
all
a
speculation.
Yeah.
Stephen King novella called Cycle of the Werewolf. So maybe that's just how the story ended. That's how Stephen King ended it. Because he did write the screenplay as well for this.
Well, and I'm also just thought it was odd that they kind of never really wrapped up the relationship with the uncle. You know,
Yeah. I
He
thought
was
it was very
there.
abrupt.
It was
the
an
ending.
abrupt ending, yeah.
Yeah.
he was there. They shared this moment together, but then they made that moment just about Marty and Jane.
Mm-hmm.
It left me wondering. It left me wanting more.
Yeah.
It left me.
Wha-
It left,
I haven't seen a lot of like Stephen King's films. Like, do they? A lot of those other ones end like that too, like very abrupt.
He has a problem ending his stories. He does. Yeah.
Okay.
what are you laughing at so much, Jerry?
No, I just agree. I agree wholeheartedly with you. Like it was like, okay, really? Like that's the ending? Like we're
That's what we
done?
get.
Like,
Well, they had the kind of the very stereotypical freeze frame ending,
mm-hmm.
establishing the emotional moment like they did in a lot of those TV shows and movies at that time.
Mhm.
And I'm not dropping this. I want to know what happened to her. It's
Well,
is
you
there any
gotta-
sequel to this?
Go read the short book.
Or if Stephen King ever watches this, we want another chapter.
We want an answer, Stephen King.
Well,
Contact
wait a
Media
minute.
Pod Smash now.
You owe us.
Derek, you're really getting official here. This is a demand.
This
you
is a
know?
demand.
This is not a request.
We watched your film, sir. We wasted an hour and a half of our lives watching your film. We want to know. I can't relive the rest of my life not knowing.
So there is no sequel.
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I am that kind of it was just an odd thing. It made it somehow a little deeper for me. It made me think, what happened to Jane? Why is she not in the town anymore? I
Obviously, the situation has affected her to this point of her life where she's like talking about it.
right. And again, where is Marty? And I'd like to know just what happened to him just anyway. I mean, being in a wheelchair, what did he end up doing, And again, what happened to the uncle? They just dropped him. In that.
I was just happy he didn't die because I wanted him to live. So
Yeah, I'm glad too.
Yeah.
I
that was my concern when that scene happened. I'm like, he's not going to make it, is he? But no, he.
I don't get. Again, just going back to the good night thing, that I didn't get either. To me, that doesn't necessarily indicate that Marty's dead.
No.
I
it
have never
doesn't.
personally said goodnight to a deceased person.
I mean,
you know.
me neither. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just speculating completely.
Is that
when I
something
said-
that you've heard before, where people say goodnight to
Oh,
a
yeah.
deceased person?
I'm sure I've heard that before. Like people have said that in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
The only reason I could think of kind of what I thought with the goodnight was that's why I thought it was a TV movie. I thought they were saying goodnight to the audience. That's it, everybody.
This is your bedtime story for today. Good
I
night.
did not.
Close
I
the
didn't
book.
Right.
think, get that.
But it wasn't a TV movie, so that doesn't make any sense.
No.
That would have been
Um,
really bizarre if they just started addressing
What?
us.
Jeremy, what other reason is there?
No.
It's just
That's
as
why-
bizarre to say it.
That's why it's worth a second watch.
I'd have to. Yeah, we have to watch it again.
It stuck with me, and it's going to stick with me.
Jeremy, do you want to do the hell yeah and wrap up of everything?
All right. So my hell yeah moment, I guess I'd have to say, was probably the drunk guy getting decapitated.
The very first part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. It's always nice to see a head go flying. Guess you're fired up for what's about to come.
Yeah. My hell yeah moment was when Tammy's father got impaled. It's like, wow, he really like just somebody's in crippled, like, you know, they have a disability. You just hate them. They're like a disease. Dude, you need to get out of there. And when he got killed, I was so happy. I was glad to get he got knocked out and then torn apart, probably.
Yeah.
My hell yeah would be definitely the fog sequence, for sure. And the fact that we were able to take that and make our own film out of it as well.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
I'd say mine was the dream sequence at the funeral, where people started turning into the werewolves. I thought that was pretty well done, both effects wise, but just the way they blended it into how you thought it was reality, but then it wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job with that.
And the fact that you mentioned, like, that we talked about that scene so much made me think, oh yeah, that was really like a dream sequence. So there wasn't like a funeral for those people that were killed in the woods. He did the killing, so he had it in his mind already.
Right. Yeah, we don't even know really if a funeral like that even occurred with the 4 coffins.
Right.
And one thing I just wanted to add, you know, Derek, you probably know that the narrator was in The Walking Dead, right?
I did not notice that.
She was the I forgot her name, but she was the one who was like the first leader of Alexandria.
Really? Oh, that was her?
Yes.
Interesting. I didn't realize that. No.
Do you remember her name in Walking Dead? She was
her character name was Deanna, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's her. That's
cool.
the woman. And she also has been in other, coincidentally, Law and Order episodes.
That's your ultimate goal as an actor, is to get on Law and Order.
Is it?
Yeah. No, it just seems to happen for a lot of like.
It does. I mean, they do get a lot of high-profile people.
Yeah.
Jeremy, ratings?
All right. I'll give it 4 silver bullets out of 5. I think it was pretty well done. I mean, there's a few minor things I could nitpick like we have, but mostly it was like I really liked it overall. Yeah.
I'll go with 4 bottles of wild turkey out of 5.
I'll go with 4 slashes out of 5.
So we're all in agreement. I'm saying 4 as well. I'll say 4 slow motion heads flying.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I really enjoyed this one, honestly. Like what Jeremy said, there's like those nitpicky points, like in most films. This one had it as well, but I was actually into it the entire time. There was never a dull moment where I'm like, oh, this is dragging on too much. Other than maybe the scene, I guess, where he was driving down the road for like 3 minutes in his powered wheelchair, but...
We were talking about Quentin Tarantino earlier on, but he actually has this on his list of best films of all time.
Does he really?
Yeah, if you Google it, this is one of his top films of all time.
Yeah. I know he had Back to the Future on that list, too. I remember him saying that.
I thought there were a lot of well done, like, cinematography shots. They, you know, like showing the fog and, you know, just showing the town. I thought they had some really interesting shots. I thought they did a good job. It was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like when they were going around looking for the eyes, like some of the scene, like the shots when they were doing that were really cool, where they'd get like really close up to everyone looking. And...
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should say goodnight, everyone.
I guess so. I guess that.
We gotta end it with...
Is that a reference to Jane?
I was about to say that. Yeah. We got to end it like how they ended the film.
Good night, everyone.
And it was a lot easier to say I love you after that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's been fun, everybody.
Oh yeah.
Freaky Film Club off.